Hello, my folks, my wonderful friends, and I don't know, some of you that haven't realized yet, I guess, in your mind, not so wonderful, but in my mind, you're all wonderful, all beautiful, all equal in that respect, and all totally different in your unique ways, and that is beautiful in my mind. So I've kind of reconstituted my pumpkin with water just to get some life back into it. As you can see, there's loads of little bits and pieces everywhere, which I'm not going to waste time and energy cleaning off for now. Such as all this stuff. Doesn't fall off the same as with wood where it's dry, it's all wet and it sticks, so I've got to get a little brush. I had all this stuff collected last year, and I have it all somewhere. But if I wanted to look for 5 months and had that time and wish to spend that time doing that, I could do it. But it was just better to get something for now. And seeing this is the theme, making do with what you got this time around, like with the Phoenix mailbox and stuff, I kind of keep it in that vein. So this will always be the representation of this time. This magical lantern is going to do some wonderful things. I'm getting a little nervous because this has gotten a little tinge of frostbite here or there. I kept the plastic bag over it, but you can't 100% stop these things from happening. So we're working with all those restrictions. And I wanted to just do these little guys to this stage for now. Same thing, I'm taking things to a certain stage, trying to pace myself, not obsess over one piece, and that way it gives me a lot of freedom over time to work with stuff. So having said that, I'm going to continue on with this, these kind of diamond shapes to, well, those two for now. Then I'll probably go down and just get the basic forms of other shapes. That's what I'm trying to discipline myself to do this time around. Whether it's better, it's not better or worse, it's just a different approach. Something to try based on what I did last year. Last year I just had no idea. I learned as I went, I winged it, so I have a few little things to work with from what I learned then. But otherwise, it's still very, very new. It is quite enjoyable. There are a lot of challenges to doing sort of fine detail carving with pumpkins compared to wood, and then there's a lot with wood compared to pumpkins, so it's really, you get a good trade-off. You know, for what's difficult, you get a whole bunch of things that are easier to do too. I mean, it's obviously softer. If you want something you can keep, you obviously can't really keep it, but you can keep photos or videos. And sometimes that's pretty good, or good enough for that person's needs. And there's the impermanence aspect, which I really like. I explored a little bit of the Tibetan sand mandala painting idea, or inspired from that. I didn't do their mandalas, but I did my own meditative artwork, and I had those all on video as well. So if you ever want to look back on that, you'll find it. So I was just remembering how I did this the other day. I had a little system that I'm trying to watch and develop little systems that I can use, sort of an upgrade of my hard-working overdrive. I think I recognize that I was definitely responsible, and once I became aware of it, then responsible, I should say, of most of my life going into overdrive and feeling like that was proof that I was putting my all into it. And I guess as you mature, you realize some people are born knowing, but I wasn't so lucky, and so I did the overdrive thing for many years, and now I'm thinking, how do I pace myself? What can I do to change the trap that I perceived that I was in, at least? And I thought, well, I don't have the benefit of having millions and millions of dollars. So, but what I can do is reduce / get out of any debt over time, and not go back into situations where I would, like, don't, try to deal without credit cards. This is what it's just for me. I'm not telling anyone else to do this or even suggest it. It's just for me. I was exploring this because it's one way that I can buy or it's not really buy, right? It's I watched my metaphors too. Find myself, at least a place within myself where I feel a certain sense of freedom, inner, like whatever. It really, it's an exploration. I haven't got an answer for it. I don't think anyone ever would have an answer, but they could get a deeper level of experience with it, I guess, and that's what I'm looking for. So, simplifying my life, focusing on what I love the most, which is helping people, being with people, but in some way related to art. And basically just pursuing that, and that's always been primarily my soul print work, but always with other little peripheral things, and I'm little, not as in lesser than, but little in the sense in how much they are a part of my life. They're kind of a little bit more on the back burner. So that's also why I want to make some changes, so I can just balance things out, balance out my creativity, spend more time, in one sense, doing what I want, but not running on the treadmill, because I'm feeling that there are many levels of, the word's been kind of overused lately, but slavery. There's many levels of slavery. There's definitely the non-consensual kind, which is dramatic and intense, and most people wouldn't agree with that at all. But then there's other levels where it's unconscious, and you be a slave to yourself, slave to your habits, slave to, various things. You get the drift. I'm just identifying the areas for me where I was enslaved to some kind of system. I won't even say the system, because that kind of makes it kind of go, what do you mean the system? So two patterns, two habits, two whatever. It really doesn't matter. So trying to free myself up from any kind of form of slavery whatsoever. Because I'm at a point in my life where these things mean something, they matter. And especially now on my own, I want to go deep inside. I want to spend the last part of my life, latter half, in even amping up the spiritual aspect even more. I've always, Raven and I both pursued our spiritual path very seriously all our lives, and our work reflects it, our art reflects it. Raven's university studies reflected it, but, I like that. But now I just, I haven't got, I can create distractions, or I can discourage distractions, and being in a little opening in a forest really helps a lot with not getting a lot of distractions. I get a cool place to invite friends and clients to, be able to, as I develop it, I'm basically inviting you into my world. And as an artist, that's a really exciting idea, to be able to actually develop not only a painting or a tattoo, but a world to walk into. And I feel that's part of my next stage in my life, is to take the essence of the experience that I've been trying to make available to people and educate people on the potential for, but also wanting to, I missed my drift there. I just want to take it beyond the soul print tattoo experience, not making that any lesser, but wanting to, in a sense, create a world where I can put the soul print into context without even explanation. Like the realm that I would like to create would just, you would walk around there and you would just get it. That's my intention. Not saying I will achieve that. It's my aim. I'm aiming high, but if you don't aim high, you know, you've already kind of defeated yourself in some ways. I'm just trying to get this little wedge out of here. But yeah, especially this next winter, or this coming winter, first time in 38 years that I've been on my own in the sense of being single, but also on my own physically, with Raven not in her physical form. So a lot of new things for me. I'm weathering the winter in an environment that is very unfamiliar to me as well. I know the winter here, but I've never tried living in a trailer, so that will be very interesting. And I'm taking it as an adventure. Somewhere along the line I had the crossroads of either choosing to feel like a victim and going into fear about stuff happening, or I could choose to see everything as an opportunity, as a blessing, and be grateful for what came my way. And I had this inner feeling that if I chose the latter and not the way I have, it would have opened up too big of a precipice, chasm, and it just would have been, for me at least, very dangerous place to go. And so I just, put my blinders on. Those insecurities and thoughts try to come in once in a while. It's not like I'm totally impervious to anything. They'll happen if I'm feeling tired or in some way challenged, emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever. Get drained, and then these thoughts come in. But with the right exercises, whether it's kind of a Vipassana kind of thing where you just let the thoughts come up and let them go. You don't attach to them. You don't run from them. That's definitely an aspect of what I'm doing. Another aspect for me, which I was just getting into, being on my own and going into the winter, is I'm taking it as an opportunity. I may never get this chance again, and I don't know if I really want to do it again. This is going to be a one-time thing. But going through it, I'm looking at it as a spiritual opportunity, a rite of passage that's put itself right in front of me. It's not like I went looking for it, and it's not like I ran from it. It just is happening to me, so I'm choosing to see it as an opportunity rather than as some horrible thing happening to me kind of thing. As I mentioned, it's just not a creative, it's not a valuable way to go in thinking. So that's my approach. I've got that one on there. Another one. Okay. But yeah, so with that in mind, with this for me, going into every moment now, I have moments where fear comes upon me and I can go into some kind of dark places even. But I'm recognizing those moments more and more, quicker and quicker, and not getting as pulled into them, into that. It's like a narrative and a feeling that comes all together like a dark cloud or something. And I'm just getting better at not feeding it. Because I do believe that it can only exist if I'm feeding it. And if I can be on top of that, I can withdraw its food, and it withers and dies. So it's an ongoing process, like being a gardener. Yeah. But yeah, so I really am anticipating a phenomenal, intimate between myself and nature, and between myself and myself. I am anticipating, without clinging to a wish, some form of deepening of my way of seeing life, experiencing life. And I really welcome that. I'd like to, if I can take advantage of assuming that there's going to be a little bit of solitude, I'll find out for sure. But assuming that I will have, I would like to work on my book and actually aim to have it together, first stage, by the summer sometime. And I like the idea, whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know, but I like the idea of having pictures that go with it, and not necessarily photos, and not necessarily not photos, but artwork, illustrations that get across an idea. Because I find I really am an image person, and a picture is worth 1,000 words at least for me. So I'm thinking to have some images to go with it, with my words, descriptions and things, and take it into a little bit of a hint of a children's storybook kind of feel, if I can manage to do it. I don't know, achieve that effect, but I like that idea of, curling up by a fire and opening up a really one of those kind of books that you just feel like you want to go through it many times. And that's, if I could ever create a book like that, that's what I would like. And of course it would be about the soul print in my case. But I want to kind of invite people in, but invite that childlike, child self that we all have in us. Have it appeal to them. So that's something that I'm working on in my mind at the moment, and hopefully this all comes together and I write that over the winter in my little cozy cabin trailer. And once I have that all set up, and then I'm a little more able to get relaxed, like I have my little winterized project done, and that may not be into like December. Like I may be really roughing it here. We'll see. But then I will let people know, and then I'd love to have people just to come up for the day. See, I mean, unless you want a winter camp, I don't think you want to stay, because I won't have that kind of room. But you can rent a hotel if you actually want to come up here for other reasons. But it's fun to have people up for a coffee or tea or whatever, but just as a visit in the middle of winter. It'll have to be in the middle of winter because I won't be finished until probably December into the new year even. One of the things I'm really liking about pumpkin carving is all the saffron tones I find are very, very, well, they keep me awake enough, stimulated enough. I guess the yellows, orangey elements, but there's a little bit of stimulation, but it's also, I find, very calming saffron color. I should look it up. I haven't looked up that. Just kind of thinking through in my head. Yeah, so I enjoy working with the saffron color all in my focus. I feel like it's quite healing. And maybe it's just healing for me, maybe it's whatever I need, and that's why I've gravitated towards it. I'd like to believe that, would be cool. This one's hanging on. It's a slow, meticulous thing that some might find. This, it's a lot of measuring and planning and balancing and stuff, but it's just, that's the kind of thing I like. And I like things that have some kind of meaning, or else I just lose interest. So yeah, getting into a really nice meditative headspace. I hope I'm able to maintain. I'm getting, start at the beginning, I'm getting some nice moments of a kind of sort of a contentment, or a kind of a bliss. Very uncomplicated. I find myself there in moments, and it could be while I'm walking a dog, it could be anywhere. And I tried to identify what was it that I was experiencing, or what was pleasant, or what appealed to me in some way. What did I know about it? And it's familiar in some ways and different in other ways, but to anything else I've experienced. It felt very meditative, like I just fell into that state due to whatever I was doing. Something was working at some moments, and it definitely was happening when I lost awareness of myself, so that's no surprise, but it's an observation. And it felt timeless. It felt just like I was where I was, walking through the forest or whatever, but I wasn't in the normal relationship with the rest of the world or awareness of it. I almost was ready to say that I wasn't aware of the rest of the world, and in some way that's how it felt. I had just become my awareness in that moment, and it was really blissful. Just the simplicity of me not worrying about other things at all. Now, if I tried to do that, it would be impossible. But I know from other meditational periods in my life where I put a lot of focus into Vipassana or something, if you try, you actually get further away from what you're trying to do. In the case of meditation, sorry, picking this out. So, no surprise that that's how I observed it and experienced it. It fit with my other experiences with other kinds of more purposeful meditation. I also think that what I fell into, that headspace that was so pleasant, some part of me had let go for a small period of time of trying to see myself in the relationship, in the context of everything that's gone on. Like there's another part of me that needs to always measure up my situation and what I'm going through, and it just doesn't let me just experience a moment. And I don't know how exactly and what all that is. I have some suspicions. For sure, anyone grieving, there will be a mechanism within you that doesn't want you to feel happy because you don't want to be happy without that which you're missing in whatever circumstance that is for each person. In my case, it would be Raven. So I'm sure that's an element of it, but nonetheless, found myself walking through the forest, and then other times for short moments, sometimes for half hours, sometimes for a couple hours, but just be in a real simple, blissful state. And one of the things, as I mentioned, that I noticed was that, well, I was in the moment, and I just wasn't measuring up to what's going on in the world, or not trying not to measure up either. It fell away. Would be, I guess, a good way to try and explain it. Come on there, little corner. So yeah, I feel very optimistic about this winter being a very, very powerful winter for me. Really going inward and doing some major healing work on myself. And I could pop out in the spring. Brand new. Game. Okay, got that one on there. I don't know if you guys want to, maybe I might just break this up. It's almost at 30. So thank you for sitting in and listening with me and hanging out. I could feel your presence and love having you with me. Talk to you soon.